Right, hello, soul healers and lovely people, friends and acquaintances and all the rest. We're going to do this third part of our healing talk. And in this part of the talk, we're going to dive into a little bit more detail of the story. We're going to talk a little bit about the causality of illness. And when I'm talking causality, we're going to visit the causes or the reasons or what you might even call the purpose behind illness and sickness that we have in our lives. Now, I'm going to simplify the story. I'm going to make it basic so that we can understand the principles behind it. There is always something very personal in illness. There are always very individual messages and lessons that we are here to learn and to grow with and to experience in our lives. And so it's not black and white. There's a little bit of flexibility here, but hopefully I'll give you some ABCs and you can take that or take this knowledge and work with it in your own personal way. However, there's a slight disclaimer when I'm talking about diving into some of the psychosomatic relationship between illness and our experience with it and working with self-healing. And that disclaimer is, these are just my ideas. Maybe I picked some of them up from a book somewhere down the line or just figured it out working with people over the years. But also, I have also seen that not everybody is ready to own, claim, empower themselves by understanding their own illness. So if you don't feel safe doing any type of shadow work and introspective process and owning the responsibility for whatever is taking place in your life, including illness, and in this case, especially illness, then please don't go there. Or go there with somebody holding your hand, go there with somebody who can guide you and who can help you keep focused and not go too deep, too far, too dark, too quick, and dive into a negative emotional space, because sometimes when you're looking at the darker side of ourselves, we can definitely go there. That's the disclaimer, right out the window. Let's dive into the causality of illnesses. So when we speak about what causes illness, there are different ways or different levels of causality that we can look at. And our normal mainstream view of illness is, and this is a point of view which we've been taught, at least in the Western world, and it depends upon how crazy hippie and out there our parents were, but my generation for sure, that we are taught that illness comes from something normally outside. Sometimes it's a bacteria, a virus, or it could be an organ deficiency. It could be a physical malfunction in some way. But we're taught that our illnesses come from something physical in the world, and this is the real cause of us getting sick. It's a virus that Johnny over there coughed all over me and I breathed it in and I became sick, and that's where my illness comes from. Now, most of Western medicine is happy to draw the line here and say, this is where the illness is, or this is what the problem is. Let's try and sort out this problem at this level of either treating the symptoms that come up or getting rid of the illness, the bacteria, the whatever it is that's causing the malfunction of our physical normal bodily organs and our health and vitality. Right. So that's one level, that's the physical level, and this is what we are taught to believe in, and we all believe in this on one level. And we say, how did you get sick? Oh, I went to a party and somebody was sick there, and so I got sick. Okay, we'll normally just talk on that level, and we'll think that that's good enough for our understanding. But if we just hold back, if we just hold on to this physical way of looking at life, then we don't have a more complex and more complete and more holistic view of where our illness comes from. So let's take this virus example one step further, for example. So let's say that Johnny was in a party with 10 other people. I was one of them, okay? And we were all in that party together, and he coughed all over everybody. And so the virus was inhaled by everyone, all 10 people. But only 2 people got sick. And the other 8 were just fine. They didn't develop any symptoms, and they didn't have any stories go on. So those 2 people, why did they get sick specifically? Well, maybe I was one of them, and maybe I got sick because I hadn't been sleeping very well, for example, because I had insomnia, or my kids kept me up all night and my immune system was low. Or maybe I drink too much and I'm unhealthy, I smoke, I don't do enough exercise, I eat really poor food, I have all of these maybe not so healthy habits that bring my immune system lower. And this immune system story starts to be another reason for causality, another cause for the illness actually coming into my body and creating symptoms inside of me. And we can all buy into that one because this is still physical, and we can say, yes, okay, your immune system, your immune system wasn't working so well, and so yes, that's why these 2 got sick and the other 8 didn't get sick. So it's just an immune system story, and we'll hold it there. And there's all sorts of holistic healing which will just be, let's boost our immune system with this herb and that herb and this whatever. We can draw the line there too. And we can say that it is just an immune system story. But let's take a look at what made our immune system not so great. And it could be our addiction to bad food, or our inability to look after ourselves, our inability to practice self-care by going and having good exercise, or eating well, or sleeping well, or not indulging too much in crazy amounts of alcohol, for example, right? And these habits are taught habits. These habits are habitual actions that we take in our life that we don't see as being related to the illness, but are very much related to the illness that we are, or that we may experience at one time. So these habits of not looking after ourselves, not taking care of ourselves in all the varied ways that we can take care. Why don't we? Well, my dad was like that. My mum, she was pretty much like that too. So I ended up being like that. Nobody taught me how to look after myself, and so I didn't learn that practice. I learned these bad habits from my friends. I learned those bad habits from my family, and well, that's just the way I am. That's just who I am. And we draw the line there. We say that's who I am, and so I'm destined to have weak immune system from time to time, and I'm destined to get sick because of it. And we can say that these habitual ways of living, or practice, or lifestyles, if you like, are another cause for us becoming sick. And the immune system is something that's responsible for a lot of our health and how sick we get, and not just common colds and flus and things like that, but more serious illnesses as well. Behind these habitual ways of living and this lack of self-care, for example, there's a belief system like, I'm not good enough. You can't think you're great enough and look and think that you are very important and a beautiful being that's worth looking after and not do it. If you hold those beliefs that you deserve to be treated well, deserve to be fed well, deserve to be looked after, then you will look after yourself. If you hold the idea that I'm not worthy, or I don't deserve this, or it's easier for me to just do that because that's what I'm taught to be, or I'm just on autopilot, and I know I shouldn't, but I do, and I know I didn't ought to do this, but I will because I like it. Why? Because it's my habit to do so, even though I know it's not the best thing for me. If we hold on to the beliefs that keep us in old routines and old patterns and old belief systems that, definitely get passed down from generation to generation, we will be stuck in these old patterns forever, and they will just continue creating similar types of sicknesses inside of our lives. So we can say it's these belief systems on another level that can be some of the core reasons, or some of the deeper reasons, the hidden reasons, the subtle reasons for us becoming sick. Because in the end, these beliefs are going to be the ones that create the habits that are going to make us susceptible to all sorts of disease and illnesses. Let's take it one step further, because we can go deeper and we can go deeper here. So let's, for example, imagine us being sick. So we got the cold from Johnny, we got the flu or whatever it is, the virus, and we are sick. And now we are sick. We are having an experience in the present moment. The past things we've been talking about have been past conditionings and belief stories and habits and programs that are inside of our conscious and subconscious selves. Now we're talking about a present moment experience. So we are sick. Okay, so what's happening as we're sick? Well, we're forced to go to bed and do nothing. We're forced to rest. We're forced to simplify our life, get rid of everything, don't overdo anything. Maybe we're forced to chill out and relax. Maybe that's something we're not good at. Maybe this disease has come along to tell us, hey, right, it's time for you to just take 5 minutes out, or just take a day out, take 2 days out, so that you can take care of yourself, so that you can practice looking after yourself. And here we're having an experience which is teaching us to look after ourselves. For example, we may feel weak and vulnerable. We may feel afraid. Whatever we feel is going to be part of the lesson that we need to learn and that is important for us. Even feeling weak, you think, what's the important now? Feeling vulnerable is important. How many of us have difficulty owning up to our vulnerability, or just saying, yes, I do feel weak and I do feel, and I do have issues maybe asking for help. But when you're sick, you get a wonderful excuse. Why? Because you can't maybe do things for yourself. So you have to go, can you help me? And sometimes that experience is part of what your healing looks like. And sometimes the experience of actually being sick and having those emotions come to the surface, and having the time to see them, to feel them, to acknowledge them, to experience them, is what your healing is really all about. And so you could say, so why did you get sick? Okay, well, I got sick so that I could have this present moment experience, and the causality of what happened in the past becomes what is happening right now. In other words, the reason for us being sick could be that we are having an experience which is incredibly healing and important for us. Maybe it's just the simple experience of putting ourselves first, of saying to the kids and the family, look, I have to look after myself. I can't look after you. Look after yourselves. And I need to put myself first. I need to look after and practice the self-care of number one. And this can be part of the practice. And this is part of our healing. And I'm just throwing out an example. There could be opposite stories taking place. There could be all sorts of stories taking place. Some people make themselves ill so that they can attract help from other people, and they can have an excuse to say, hey, come and help me. Why? Because they want to be the victim, and they are living out that experience, but instead of consciously living it out, they're just throwing it their illness upon other people. And this is another type of experience that can be part of a healing experience, but it might be a roundabout story. And there are all sorts of complexities here, and I'm not going to go into it. I'm just trying to keep I'm going to give a couple of simple examples so that you can understand different ways of looking at illness and its causality. So let's just take this one step further, for example. And this is something that you may well have heard of for sure at one time or another, or maybe even lived and experienced, for example. So you get sick, and let's imagine that illness happened in the past. Right now, we got sick. We realized that we really shouldn't drink too much, and that it really is not good for us, and that illness took it out of us so strongly, so deeply. It was such a profound experience that it provoked us to make a change, and we are convinced that we're going to make a life change. We're going to get up off our asses, do some exercise, we're going to eat some good food, and we actually make some shifts, and we make something different in our life, and we break an old program and we move into new programs, and we start cultivating positive habits in our lives. Now, in this moment, we are an example of a healthier version of ourselves than before the illness or before the sickness. We've learned something, we've grown, we've moved on, and we've become maybe a more healthy version of ourselves. And then we look at our friend who's maybe where we once were, because we were there not too long ago, and we go up to them and we say, hey, I was where you are, living a slightly unhealthy life in this way and that way, just like you. And then I did this, and I feel so amazing right now, and wow, my life has completely changed. It's brilliant. It's amazing. And your friend looks at you and go, oh my gosh, yeah, well, yeah, tell me what you do. What do you have to do? I say, well, I did this, I did that, and the other. And then you promote change in other people. Or maybe just your example of vibrancy and consciousness that has changed in your life. And then people start seeing it. Your friends, your family start looking at you and go, oh my God, maybe I'll do that. Oh, mum became a vegetarian. Oh, maybe I can become a vegetarian. Just throwing some ideas out there. And so the causality, why did you get sick? Oh yeah, no, because Johnny coughed at me. No, maybe it wasn't that. Maybe part of the causality, or the reason behind you getting sick, is because of the changes that you will promote in the future, and then provoke a ripple effect of positivity in the world around you. And you can see the causality of illness as being something in the future and in the present, as well as in the past. Either way, all these ways of looking at the causality of illness are a little bit deeper than the mainstream conditioned way that we've normally been taught to look at illness. And looking at illness this way, it will expand our perception of what illness actually is and what healing actually is. And that expansion is part of what will allow us to accept uncomfortable experiences, difficult experiences, understanding that, hey, this is all part of a much bigger process which we can't pretend to understand or realize where it might be taking us in the future. But nevertheless, we can have the faith, we can hold on to that faith once we grasp some of these stories that, hey, maybe we're heading in a direction which is potentially more beautiful. So that's a little bit about causality as far as the past, the present, and the future is concerned. And then we can jump into specific illnesses, and we can look at the way illnesses are talking to us in order to understand them, in order to find a deeper comprehension about it, in order to really understand and embody the lessons properly and embrace those lessons, that any illness that we might be attracting in life is actually coming to teach us, right? So every thought we have, whether it's an unconscious thought, of which 95% of our thoughts are unconscious, every thought has will provoke an emotional response in our body, an electromagnetic response in our body, which will then promote an electrochemical response in our body, which will then affect our body on a cellular level, and we'll have cellular reactions to every idea, every belief, every thought that takes place. Okay, this is just sort of proven science. They know they don't exactly know the details of it, but people are studying it and have been studying it much deeper than I know anything about. But all I'm trying to share right now is that every idea and belief we have, whether we're conscious of it or not, is having a cellular effect on our body. Response or unhealthy reaction on a cellular level inside of your body, and specific type of thoughts will affect certain cells more than others. Specific types of emotional reactions will trigger certain parts of your body more than others, because of the way specific chemicals run through our body and the way different cells have a tendency to latch on to some chemicals more than others. It's quite complex, and I don't know the depth of it, and I don't really need to, but I know enough to know that, hey, every thought creates some physical reality in our body on a moment to moment, day to day, always since the dawn of time experience in our lives. And we're looking at illness, we must recognize that behind that there is some maybe unbalancing or unhealthy thought, belief pattern that we hold on to. And part of the experience of the illness is going to be seeing if we can become aware of that pattern, shift it, change it, and maybe even plant the seed of a different belief, a more healthy belief in our lives. This is called the changing of our minds, the changing of our old programs. This is the shifting of ourselves. This is self-transmutation, and this is healing on another level. Changes don't have to be drastic, they can be subtle. And yet our body will speak to us through the experiences that we're having. Like I said before, the type of emotional experiences that an illness will provoke will be part of the message. But there will also be something symbolic in the way we're talking. So if I was to take an example, let's just talk about, I'm just going to talk some very basic symbolism here so that you can understand the gist or get the gist of how different areas of our body will speak about different ways of thinking and different patterns and different types of reacting and acting towards life and towards the world, and how maybe those beliefs of how we should be reacting towards the world, maybe they might be a little bit misaligned as far as our highest good and our greater needs is concerned. So let's look at, for example, the digestive system. It's an incredibly complex thing dive into in depth, but we all know what eating things looks like, and we all know that the digestive system from time to time gets unbalanced and gets out of whack for many different reasons. So I'm just going to put some basic generalities out there so that you can understand some of the ways we can make relationships between ways of thinking and the way our body acts and reacts. So, for example, when we eat something, we take it in our mouths and we chew it. Okay, chewing is one of the most aggressive things, and so it gets bitten into pieces. It gets mashed all up in your mouth. It mixed with saliva. It gets swallowed and it goes into the belly, where it gets denatured even more, broken up, pulled apart by the acids in your stomach. So there's aggression here with your teeth, and with your ability to chew, and with your ability to accept and swallow. And the food that we eat is very much symbolic to the type of experiences that we like to go for or choose, or we gravitate towards in our lives. And we'll find that the types of food that we like are very symbolically in tune with the type of experiences we're really looking for in our lives as well. So when we bite into something, it's like when you choose to do something. Yeah, I'm going to go and do that, and we bite into that experience of life with our teeth, and we chew it up, and we'll go, great, I'm really enjoying this, whatever it is, movie, game that I'm watching, swim that I'm doing, jog that I'm going to do, this walk, or this party, or whatever it is your experience. It is that you're looking for, you're going for it, you bite into it, you grab it, you chew it, and your ability to digest is just beginning here. Your ability to grab an experience in life and turn it into something that you can actually learn from and grow from, and your body can feed off, just like your soul can feed off the experiences that we're having in life, will depend upon our ability, first of all, to chew, then to break down. And we need a healthy relationship with aggression. And aggression is one of those things that we don't normally have a great relationship with, or a lot of people don't, because we're afraid of conflict, and aggression can equal violence, and it can equal conflict with other people, and so we don't do aggression very well. But at the same time, we need a lot of aggression. We need aggression to get out of bed in the morning. We need aggression to climb that mountain, to go and work really hard, and sometimes force ourselves to make changes. We need a little bit of that fire, that digestive fire inside of our bellies, and we need a little bit of that passion to dive into life, and to bite into the world, and to break it down, and to make it something that's useful for us and beautiful for us. The food that passes into our small intestine, where it gets even more complex, and there's a huge amount of bacteria there, and it's broken down with bile and this and that, and there's even more digestive breaking down. There's even more taking something complex and making it very simple. And that simple experience is something that we resonate with, that we can understand, and we can absorb, and we can, this is an experience of me feeling worthy, or feeling happy, and this is an experience of me resisting something, me maybe saying, I'm not too sure about that. Maybe this is an experience of me really saying yes to this offer that somebody just came up to me and offered me, and they said, hey, would you like to come and do this with me? And yeah, I would. I'd love to join you. Let's go and do it together. And we embrace it, and that embracing that becomes an embracing of all the emotions that come alongside of that experience, which then need to be brought into our consciousness and brought into our body in one way or another. And our ability to assimilate really depends upon our ability to take lots of richness from every tiny life experience that we're having, instead of just switching off, being on autopilot. I've done this 100 million times. I can do it with my eyes closed, so I might as well have my eyes closed. Opening your eyes, grabbing life by the whatever, and really living it and enjoying it and embracing all the depth of the experience, whether you've done it 1,000 times, whatever it is you're choosing to do, or whether it's the first time you're doing something. To make your body absorb something will depend a little bit upon how open you are to embrace the depth of what you are actually potentially experiencing. And then there's, then in the large intestine, there's a lot of emotional absorption with the waters and stuff. And then in the colon, there's this is where we let go. This is where all of the stuff that we can't digest, that's not really good for us, that's just fiber that's moving through our body. This is where we let it go. And this is where, okay, there's some things that I'm going to be able to take from my life experience, and there's some things that I'm just not going to be able to absorb, and we'll just let that go. And our ability to let go, it depends upon how much we are willing to let go of the past, for example. And it's an interesting one, that constipation is something that very much affects all elder people more than younger people in general. And the elderly suffer a little bit more from it, because there's this mental tendency to hold on to the past. And there's this tendency to have a slightly drier body, because there's not as much emotional enthusiasm running through. Water equals emotions. And so this lack of water in the body is often because there's life isn't as exciting as it once was. It's not as new, it's not as amazing. I'm not going to experience different things every day like I did when I was 20 or whatever. And so this is maybe just one relationship that we can see. And we can see that, okay, our ability and the way our mind works, embracing experiences, is going to be the way our body works, embracing all sorts of different things, include from the food that enters into the body to the way our organs function. This is something that that I've really just touched on a very superficial level, and you can go into the depth. But there are key stories or key questions to ask with your individual personal stories. So, and a friend of mine asked me what the symbolism behind a miscarriage is, for example. So I'm just going to touch on that as one more example. And in the next chat, I'll give you some more specific questions that you can ask yourselves. Although you can probably get a lot of them from this talk if you look a little bit deeper into it. I'll give you some more specific questions that you can ask yourself that will help you identify the key lessons and the key stories around your very specific illnesses. So a friend of mine asked me about miscarriage. Well, miscarriage is going to be it's not exactly, let's say, it is very much a physical experience. It's not exactly an illness or a sickness, even though it might be because of an illness or a sickness. But there is going to be a huge emotional reaction, and so much of the lesson that will be related around this will be an emotional one, and much of the story that we and the healing that we will need to experience will be because of the feelings that need to come up, and the ideas maybe that are surrounding femininity, motherhood, our ability to nurture ourselves, our ability to nurture another person, our worth, about how we feel about nurturing another being. It's a very common experience, but I know it's a very deep and powerful one, and it's not something that everybody will react to in the same way. And again, feminine stories, feminine traumas are likely to come up with deep, strong experiences such as this. And I don't suggest you dive into it really deeply unless you've done the healing that you need to do, unless you're safe in your own body and safe in your own mind as far as this is concerned, just because there's no need. There's no need to go someplace if you don't feel comfortable there. If you do, however, then asking yourself questions around how you relate to that, to your own femininity, to your own mother nature inside of yourself, outside of yourself, inside of the world around you, and your relationship um, to holding space for life in general. And there can be many stories here, and this is just an example of what type of questions you can ask yourself when you are visiting very specific types of illnesses. I hope this has been useful for you in some way, shape, or form. And if you have any comments and questions, chuck them down in the comment section below, and I'll try and answer some of them, or maybe we'll bring them up in future videos. We'll see. But I'm signing off and sending you all much love, and I hope everything is fantastic for you in your lives, and your healing comes in the due and happy way that it that it should. All the best.